Live with another Wi-Fi podcast. Brian, how are you today?
Good. We took a break.
Yeah, we took a break. What were we doing last week?
I took the day off.
Oh, that's right. You're a slacker. So yeah, you missed the big news about the new Corvette Z06, the C8.
I didn't miss the news.
Yeah,
I didn't miss
yeah.
that news.
So yeah, that thing looks sick. That's gonna be like the last naturally aspirated V8 sports car.
Are you getting it?
I don't know. I might. 670 horsepower. We'll have to see. I may put an order in. It'll take like 3 or 4 years to come anyway. So by then, I still think I can sell mine for more than I paid for it. So why not?
What do you think they're what do you think the price is going to be?
I don't know. I think it's going to start around 80, maybe 85. But the markup, if you don't buy it from the right place, if you don't know the secret place to buy it, then they're going to double that price immediately.
Yeah, I think they're going to try to sell for like 100 probably.
Oh,
Don't you think?
of course, yeah. They'll add like 50K dealer markups if you don't buy it from the right dealer. Now, there's a couple dealers we know about that never mark them up. So,
But if you order it, like if you pre-order it, then you don't have to worry about that, or they're still going to try to mark it up.
No, they're not gonna. You'll be fine with if you go to the right dealers.
Yeah.
They're never gonna mark it up. But the little guys like your local, hometown Chevy dealer, they'll try to get whatever they can.
Yeah. Like, I want it now. So,
oh yeah,
okay,
if they want it now, they'll get it for them for sure.
Yeah.
At twice the price. Anyhow, all right. So what are we gonna talk about this week? First thing, I had some questions about AP orientation. So that means like where do you mount these things? Do you mount them on the ceiling, on the wall, on the floor? Do you put them on a desk? How does it affect like the signal propagation on the APs?
Yeah, I mean it depends on the access point, right? So there's all types of different access points that you can buy, and you can buy ones that are specifically. Well, actually, I haven't seen an access point you can specifically put on a desk.
Yeah, I mean they all have.
I guess you could, like the external antenna.
Yeah, some of them do. I mean, so a lot of them, like the Ruckus APs, do have feet on them, so you could sit them on a desk. Like I know this 230 ECW 230 doesn't really have feet, but you can still set it on a desk if you wanted to, right? If you want to permanently mount it.
I have mine on a desk, which is fine because I'm trying to have coverage above and below.
Right. So if you did put it on a desk like this, it's gonna shoot most of the signal up away from the top of the unit, like up into the ceiling, and in my case, like out through the attic, which you probably don't want.
Yeah. Well, in my case, because mine is shooting up into like our second floor.
Second floor. Yeah. So basically, most APs that you don't see external antennas, they're gonna be ceiling mount, so the signal is going to shoot out of the bottom end.
Most of the propagation is going to be going down.
Yeah,
it's designed to go on the ceiling, but you will have Wi-Fi coverage on the opposite side of the device.
That's a little bit.
That's just how it works.
Yeah, it's going to be like a donut. It's going to go around a little bit.
Yeah, unless they have some like really heavy shielding where they're like, nope, we're not going to allow this thing to have radio propagation on the opposite side of the device, then but that's pretty rare though. I don't see that really happening that much.
Yeah.
And then there's different designs of access points. So we have in our lineup, our total lineup, not just the cloud lineup, but we have multiple. We used to have external antennas, and that would be used on desktops a lot because the antennas are physically outside of the actual unit.
Yeah.
And you could position those antennas in different ways. And if you can position the antennas in different ways, then you can change the way the radio is propagating within the area.
Yeah, so if you see one of those APs that have external antennas still, that's omnidirectional AP. They're going to go in all directions.
They're all most of them are all omnidirectional.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean we have specifically designed, and other manufacturers do. They're called wall plate APs, and they actually go into the wall, and they sit low. And so when you design like an access point like that, you consider where the position is going to be. It's going to be on the wall, on the lower part of the wall, probably like 2 or 3 inches off the floor.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe like more like a foot off the floor or something. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So they designed the signal propagation around that and to go in all
and
directions.
You even get propagation behind the wall plate. So if it's sitting like vertically, you have most of the Wi-Fi coming out on this side, but the back of it, you're still getting propagation on the back of it as well. Those are typically used for like hotel rooms. You can actually cover 2 rooms probably with that one antenna and that one access point, and that only has like 17 dBm, which is not a lot, but it is a lot and it's not a lot, I guess. But
yeah. So if you do have wiring in the walls, you use the wall plate access points like that ECW 115.
Yeah, the 115 is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You can use that for your home easy.
Yeah.
No problem. The antennas are actually pretty good size. So it's like 17 dBm, and I want to say the antennas are 4 and 5 dBi.
Yeah.
So that coverage area is that's pretty good, and it's great for a home because it has extra Ethernet ports.
Yeah.
And those ports act like a switch. And
it blends in. So if you have a house that's pre-wired with, Cat 5e, Cat 5, whatever, that it's only a gigabit access point. So then you can just put those in. You don't see the access points. It basically, blends right in.
Yeah. But I would say placement or like orientation of it. It depends on the AP. But a majority of them you can set them flat on a desk and it should be fine. And it comes down to does that look okay for you?
Yeah.
Does that look okay? Are you okay with that, or do you want it on the ceiling? It really depends.
Now, if you mount something like this on the wall, let's say I put it on the wall here, most of the signal is going to shoot away from the wall. So it would, like a long room like this, it would cover the length of the room if you wall mounted it. Right now, some signal will go on back of it, not as much though, right? So it's going to propagate mostly in front of it. So yeah, you can do that. It may not look, sometimes you do see in hotels they'll take ceiling mount access points and put them on the wall in the hallway, facing the rooms. So it's it's blasting through the wall from the outside hallway.
But that technique is good because now you're not really interrupting any of the other access points that are behind it as well. Because you have less propagation coming out of the back of the access point. But I will say this: a majority of the webinar or these videos we do, I'm basically connected to the back of the AP. I'm not connected to the other side of the AP.
Right.
Now sometimes I'll flip that AP just to make sure we have really good signal, but there's multiple that I've had it where we're communicating through the back of the TV or the back of the AP.
So you orientation, it does matter, but usually it's pretty flexible on how you're going to do it. Just something to think about there. All right, so I had another question. Is Wi-Fi 6 worth it? Why is it worth it? Let's say you don't even have new devices. You have an iPhone 10 or something, and some old laptops and just basic tablets or whatever. Is it still worth to get Wi-Fi 6?
I say heck yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. When we first launched Wi-Fi 6. That was the question. I don't have any Wi-Fi 6 devices, so is it going to be better? And yeah, I mean, you have to think about it. It's a newer access point, so it has newer components. So it has a new chipset. It probably has more memory because it's, you have to create this access point that is, Wi-Fi 6 for large capacity kind of environments, and so you have to have the components to support a chip like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably have more memory, newer chip or newer Ethernet ports. The Ethernet ports are faster and everything. So the board layout and the components that you're using are just better all around. So the AP is going to run more and more. It's going to run more efficient. The other thing to that is as you do add new devices to the network, your network's going to improve over time.
It's going to get faster, right? Because these Wi-Fi 6 devices will support the additional feature sets of Wi-Fi 6 like OFDMA, multi-user MIMO, BSS coloring, and high density support and all this stuff, right? So
Yep.
so the new devices will support that, which makes the network more efficient. So it'll get faster as you add these Wi-Fi 6
Yeah.
devices.
Yeah, it's time to stop using 11AC.
Yeah, well, soon enough, like the chipsets will dry up, and that all we're going to see is Wi-Fi 6 also. But I know right now you have to use whatever you can get with a lot of manufacturers, and that's if you got to do it, you got to do it. But if you can use Wi-Fi 6, there's no reason not to use it because, like you said, even in the early testing, we saw even before the standard was out or whatever, we saw that the Wi-Fi 6 APs. The Wi-Fi 5 11AC devices were faster with at distance than the 11AC access points. So there's no reason not to use it. So yeah, definitely
Also,
upgrade.
keep in mind that 11AX is being utilized on 5 gigahertz and on 2.4 gigahertz.
That's right.
So you're taking advantage of both bands, whereas like 11AC, you're only taking advantage of 5 gigahertz. So that's the other advantage to that whole thing.
Yep. So yeah, so the you have the ability to have high speed on 2.4. Not that you actually get that all the time, but yeah, so it steps up the 2.4 to the new Wi-Fi 6 standard, so you can have high speed on it at longer distances. That's pretty cool too. All right, so I had another question. Can one user affect the Wi-Fi speed or the network speed, like for the whole network? Let's say, right? Let's say you're in a hotel or a school or something. Can one user like use up all your bandwidth? And the answer is yes. Like, right? If you give them the bandwidth, they can use it. Depending on what they're doing. Let's say they're running torrents like on the laptop, they could use up all available bandwidth, right? Like, and especially the Wi-Fi 6, like they could have a 600 meg connection. Maybe you only have a gigabit connection for the whole hotel.
Yeah.
And they could eat that right up, depending on what they're doing.
Yeah, they could definitely. They could use a majority of your bandwidth up if you're not careful, if you're not looking at your network, or if you don't have like features put in where you limit their bandwidth and things like that. So.
I'd say they have to be doing something sort of malicious because even if they're streaming 4K, video, it's only going to be like maybe 20 meg per stream, something like that. Like if you're in a hotel, like they're probably not even getting 4K.
Typically the speed is shared across all the users, right?
Yeah, so I mean, depending on what you got, it's gonna share that speed, across all the users, and if one user is using more than his share, the rest of them are going to be throttled down automatically. Now, so what can you do to stop that? You can use this feature called traffic shaping, right?
Yeah, you can traffic shape. So you can traffic shape, how do I say it? Like your Wi-Fi, you can traffic shape. Say for example, the Wi-Fi name is called Coffee House.
Yep.
Right? You can traffic shape that whole Wi-Fi network, or you can traffic shape to the user level. So for every user, they can use 5 megabits up, 5 megabits down, for example. And you can also do like bandwidth throttling on the switch port as well.
Right. So if they were to plug in, you can throttle that too. Like it wouldn't be so important, I guess. Let's say in a hotel, unless you using the wall plate access points, you have to be careful there, right? They could plug into that port. So yeah, like you said, you can throttle them by SSID or by user. So one SSID, the whole SSID can have a certain amount of bandwidth available. Like so, if you had, and what you do is just divide it up in most cases, right? If you had 10 access points in a gigabit, you put 100 meg on each access point. Let's say if you had one SSID, right? And then that way no one AP could bring it down, and then on top of that you could throttle per user.
And typically what happens is you throttle per user.
Yeah.
That's like the best way to do it.
Yeah. So then in that case, you'd figure out like if, what's your maximum number of users that you're going to, realistically have, right? If you have 100 rooms in your hotel, you'll have 200 users, you divide your bandwidth by that. That's probably a good way to start.
Yeah, just to give you some ideas, so we have this embedded in our cloud where it gives you kind of like the application and like what the bandwidth would need per client. So
yeah,
like basic mail and web browsing is 1 megabit download.
Right.
Like SD streaming is 3 megabit. HD streaming is 8 megabit. Live streaming is 5 on 720 and 7 megabit on 1080. Online gaming is like 5 to 10, or like 10 download, 5 up. And then 4K streaming is about 25 megabit, and high-speed internet is 50 megabit.
Yep.
So, I mean, in a lot of cases, well, in a hotel that only has a gigabit, connection, you do have to divide that up and set the right expectations with your end users on like, okay, this is types of speeds that you can get. Like you could say, hey, you have enough speed to do 4K streaming, which is 25 megabit per second or something like that, right?
Exactly. That might be too much even. And you could even say, like, I'd say for most hotels, they could, like you said, they could limit it at 5 maybe, and if they're streaming on Netflix, it's just going to downgrade to the standard definition.
Yeah.
If you're like super premium, then maybe you do want to give them that 25 meg. That seems like a lot to me for a hotel guest. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, but you could definitely upsell that, like free HD streaming.
Yeah, right? And you could have it separate.
Or like if you want premium, you can have 4K streaming.
Right, so you could have a premium SSID that you could charge extra for, and throttle the basic SSID, the free SSID, right? Like, I mean, I don't know if pay Wi-Fi is really a thing, but I think it is, like, especially in the higher end hotels, like Ritz-Carlton or something like that, they'll still charge you for it.
Now, we haven't traveled in a while, but, I've gone to, like, hotels where, if you're in the lobby, it's free, but if you go into your room, you have to actually pay.
Yeah, those are the high-end hotels, right? And then same thing, like on cruise ships and things like that, they'll do the same thing. At cruise ships, they charge for any kind of Wi-Fi, and it's just really basic, right? Like, you gotta pay a lot.
Yeah, if you want to just don't go on
Just don't go on a cruise, especially with coronavirus. All right, so last thing I want to talk about was Vlans. What do you want to say about that?
I want to talk about Vlans because we get a lot of questions around Vlans, but you were going to say something, Jeff?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, so we get a lot of questions around Vlans, and with Ingenious, it's pretty simple. Like on the AP side, on the switch side, it's very these are layer 2 devices, so it's pretty simple. But wait, do you want to talk about like the importance of a VLAN?
Well, just talk about it like in the question. You're saying you're getting a lot of questions about it recently, so.
Well, the questions that we typically we get are should I create a VLAN? And if they're asking that question, they probably don't know what a VLAN is, or they've never set it up, or they don't totally understand it. And like in most cases, yes, you do, because if you have like a guest network, for example, that's the example that we used last time when we probably talked about VLAN. You want to separate the guest from like your staff. Is there something funny?
Yeah, it's funny. There's a worker down there, so we maybe going ballistic in a minute here, Jessica.
Oh, okay. So the importance of a VLAN is, if you want to really separate the traffic from your staff and your guest, or that's the best probably example of that. You first have to have a router that supports inter VLAN communication and routing. Right. And it starts there. And
that's important.
That capability. What's that?
That's important because a lot of people don't realize like that you have to have a router you can configure to route between VLANs. If you don't, then basically because each VLAN has to have its own IP, subnet and DHCP server. And so the router has to, switches and APs has been supported VLANs for a long time, but getting the right router and getting the right configuration for that is the hard part.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so what we find out is a lot of customers, not a lot. There's customers that don't realize that the router that they're working with don't have the capabilities of doing inter VLAN.
Right.
So then you're kind of stuck, and you can do other things around that. You can do it on the AP side, but yeah. So inter VLANs will separate the traffic. Actually, those networks will run more efficiently as well, right? You don't have a lot of broadcast traffic on a single VLAN. Right?
Definitely for bigger network. Like now you're talking about schools and hotels and things like that,
right.
where you have a lot of users that will, the VLANs will segregate the broadcast traffic, so your networks operate more efficiently. Now, in like small businesses and things like that, maybe you're not going to run up against that so much, but it's more for security, like a doctor's office or dentist's office or something like that. It's more to make it secure, or a store that maybe you want to have a guest SSID, guest network, and a secure network for the staff and POS systems and things like that.
Right. Yeah. So the first, if your customer has or if you or your customer has a router that is a quote unquote a business router, most likely has inter VLAN, but you need to definitely check that.
Yeah.
Most consumer modems and routers that go into like the home don't have that capabilities. Like mine does not. But yeah, you first check the router to have make sure it has inter VLAN communication or abilities, and then you're gonna VLAN on your switch, and then you can even VLAN on your SSID.
Right.
So the person that's connecting to a particular SSID, they're on a private network. And you can divide that up in multiple ways.
And talk about the switch configuration too. So, you have to configure those VLANs on the switch, but what about the cloud switches? How do you want to do that?
It depends on the ports and what ports are connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, you start there. So, for example, wherever the router is connected, you want to tag or untag ports.
Yeah.
On that particular port, and then where the access point is connected to, you want to tag or untag ports there. So mainly you're going to be tagging the port for the VLAN.
But what I was going to say is, what about the cloud configuration? Do you want to set those up locally on the switch?
Oh, okay.
That's what I wanted to get at.
That's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
So with cloud switches, for Ingenious anyway,
for everybody,
you definitely don't want to set it up locally. You don't want to log into the actual switch and then set up all your configurations on the switch. You want to go into the cloud interface. Don't even do anything with the cloud switch. Go into the cloud interface. You log into your account, go into the cloud, go into the organization and the network, and you configure those VLANs within the cloud. Those VLANs will be then pushed down to the switch when it's plugged in.
Right.
So you want to do everything in the cloud. You don't want to do it at the local interface of the switch.
All right, Brian, I think I got to go real quick here. So remember to like and subscribe and ask questions in the video comments.